What is the imperative? Well, the imperative is a grammatical mood, just like the indicative, which is used for general statements, and the interrogative, which is used for questions. Grammatical moods utilize verb inflection to encode the speaker's attitude into what is being said. In the case of the imperative, the function that is most often associated with this mood is that of a command, which is fitting because imparare means to command in Latin. That being said, imperatives can accomplish much more than just commanding. They can also be used for requests, suggestions, for giving directions, or instructions. With a clearer idea of what the imperative is used for, let's now examine how it works in German by taking a look at the verb rufen, to call. To form the imperative du form, first eliminate the pronoun. It's implied and we don't need it for the du or the ihr forms. Next, we'll take the conjugated du form of the verb rufst and remove the st, which will leave you with ruf. You could add an e here to make rufe, but it would be fairly ornamental, and most Germans and Austrians are just going to use the shorter form. There are a few cases where the e is required, like with verbs ending in eln or ern, but don't worry too much about them for now. We're striving for the big picture. For the ihr form, the process for deriving the imperative is even easier because it's exactly the same as its indicative form. So, ruft. Moving to the Z form, we simply invert the word order. So, Sie rufen becomes rufen Sie. Lastly, for the Wir form, we are going to perform the exact same operation as we did with the Z form and invert the subject and verb to get rufen wir. In this sense, it carries the meaning like let's in English. So, let's go swimming. Gehen wir schwimmen. Okay, now let's get into a few of the details. For verbs that have an A to A umlaut shift in the second person singular forms, we're going to ignore that umlaut entirely in the imperative. So it's fang den Ball, for example, and not fäng den Ball. As far as the verbs with the vowel change e to I, those changes are also preserved in the imperative. So with a verb like lesen, which changes to liest in the second person singular, we get lies. Here the simplified classroom rule breaks down a little bit, and you have to preserve the consonant that is part of the verb stem, so the S, which means that only the T is dropped because it's the true ending. A similar exception exists for verbs that have an A to I vowel change, like essen. Here, once again, the double S is preserved because it's considered part of the verb stem, and only the T is dropped from the end. So that means we get something like is deine Suppe. Okay, wow, this has turned into a much longer video than I had initially anticipated. Forgot there were this many exceptions. So last couple of things. Some verbs like sein, haben, and werden are regular because German is hard. So we have these examples. Sei brav, be well behaved. Seid mutig, be brave. Seien Sie respektvoll, be respectful. Hab keine Angst, don't be afraid. Habt Mut, be brave. Haben Sie Respekt, have some respect. And here are some examples for werden. Werde nicht geizig, don't get stingy. Werdet sorgfältiger, be more thorough. Werden Sie stärker, get stronger. Okay, last but not least, on a lot of signage and recipes and printed instructions, it's fairly common to use infinitives instead of imperatives. So you'll see things like drücken or ziehen on doors, or signs like this one telling you how to avoid getting hit by a train. Okay, peeps, I hope this was somewhat helpful, albeit a bit long. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Vierte, tschüss, baba.